One thing that I love about Nine Souls, aside from just its visuals, its aesthetic, its gameplay, its ability to tell a thematically coherent story, intertwining both its thematic elements and its actual characters into the narrative, it really just all puts a really big bow on top of everything that it's done. At its core, Nine Souls is a revenge story. There's not really any getting around that. And it's not like that's necessarily a unique concept, you know. There are plenty of other stories that you can probably think of off the top of your head where the concept is a character goes on quest to take revenge after what happened, and then learns that revenge is bad. You know, that sort of whole gimmick. But I think one thing that's always been very different about Nine Souls, Chinese and Taiwanese mythos, culture, aesthetics, all that, it all lends towards creating one very specific and interesting story. And the story that it's been trying to tell this entire time is that Yi is arguably just as guilty as all of the other people he's gone after. Not he became guilty by going after them, but that he always was guilty. Aegong is obviously more guilty than any one of them, but remember that Yi is the soul of innovation. It is through him, through his mentorship with Aegong, that any of this was allowed to happen in the first place. Interestingly enough, both Yi and Aegong have soul seals that have descriptions but aren't actually obtainable in-game. Specifically, Yi's symbolizes the innovation and is based off the character Jay, while Aegong's is based off the character Ren, signifying knowledge, at least according to the Nine Souls wiki. The better wiki, at least. I also find it very interesting that it's G, of all people, whose character ends up getting signified. Use, you know, someone else with a massive connection to the Fusang. If at any point Yi had reconsidered, if at any point Yi had taken the moral of his near-death experience when creating the Mystic Nymph, there's a good chance he probably could have turned it all around. And maybe not necessarily saved the Solarian race. Unfortunately, it tells a really sad story about a group of people who were already doomed from the beginning. But in the process of trying to stay alive, the ideas that they came up with were not one of, let's try and actually find a solution. It was, let's just try and keep ourselves alive until we can maybe one day find a solution. It's not an accident that the Tanhuo virus started as a byproduct of attempting to achieve immortality, using the same thing that gave them consciousness in the first place. I think it's notable that not only is Kwafu not in the full Soul lineup, but also isn't to be seen in the normal ending of the game. I call this the normal ending because this is the default one that you can only change if you've actually been talking with all of the humans and understanding their culture. And you can see that Yi really regrets his decision over all of this. Yi is arguably more pissed at himself than anything else. Granted, the souls are not good people. None of them are. But the souls all follow one underlying ideology. That being that they are the best of their people, the ones who more than anyone else deserve to survive the most, and basically that they are the pinnacle of the Solarian race. That the ability to live which was granted to them by the Fusang, they are the peak of the Fusang's gifts. And yet despite all of that, after all of this time of trying to keep themselves alive, be it the Eternal Cauldron Project or otherwise, they all basically became vain, egotistical, either narcissists or nihilists. One interesting thing is that the bug involving the Eternal Cauldron Project, specifically that it was so good at granting people eternal sleep that they never wanted to leave. Many characters make reference to the fact that the Eternal Cauldron Project is really, really difficult to wake up from, or that they get a headache when waking up from it. It's possible that the reason for this, or at least the true reason for this, is that, simply put, when you're in a world that gives you everything that you want, the moment that you have to get back to a world that doesn't automatically guarantee you that, you're going to automatically feel worse. None of the souls in this game actually really do anything. Very rarely do they ever actually do stuff. I'd say the one soul who actively participates the most is probably Jie Quan, and that's because Jie Quan actively wanted a fight with Yi. All of the other ones are pretty much content to be stuck in their Eternal Cauldron forever, thinking that, you know, Aegong might eventually find a solution. But she never does. Each of these characters are so inherently intertwined with their culture that it ends up each being their downfall.
Jaquan that heroes are forged in agony, Gomong with her survival of the fittest, Quafu regretting helping the council in the same way that his culture regretted helping in the war. Even the characters who don't have culture, like the Fang twins or Jay, for example, I keep getting his name wrong, sorry. Even they just end up sort of giving up entirely and just doing whatever feels right in the moment. It's a very tragic story. That's all it is. These are all very, well, I wouldn't necessarily call them. Lady Ethereal is definitely a tragic character, but in the end, even she ended up having to lie just to keep the project going. Each of these characters became inversions of what they were initially supposed to represent, and that again ties back into the ending. By artificially extending their own life, they are basically denying the natural cycle of things, be it the Eternal Cauldron Project, or be it stuff like the immortality thing. The whole purpose of finding this stuff out, the whole purpose of Aegon wanting to bring about immortality for the Solarian race, it sounds like a good thing. It always sounds like a good thing on paper. But at a certain point, Aegon abandons this notion once innovation is gone, and simply sees that the conclusion that she has reached is the correct one. Additionally, it seems like every single soul, through long-term exposure to their soul pods, basically, through long-term soulscape exposure, have basically become massively corrupted by their own ideologies, basically taken to the logical extremes that their own perceptions have been. Like, yeah, sure, before they're described as, like, being pretty ruthless or martial people, but it's shown here that they've just gone all the way to the extreme with it. Granted, Jaquan was never really a good person. Gomong was, like, debatably not a great person either. But then you have other people like the Fang twins or Lady Ethereal. All these people who were victims of the eternal promise that Yi made specifically that, hey, if we just hold out long enough, we'll eventually find a solution. Without knowing that a solution is never coming, because the person who started the problem in the first place lost interest in fixing it. The game, in my opinion, is divided into two halves. The first half are the people who benefited most from Aegon's lies, i.e., the people who were willing to go along with it, the actual perpetrators. With the exception of Quafu, of course. While the other half are the victims of Aegon, people who were who actively believed in the promise of the Eternal Cauldron Project, or people like Ji who did actively nothing to stop it. Honestly, I think the reason why Quafu is the one who gets to outlast them all is because he basically learns what Ji didn't want to accept, which is that, yeah, doing nothing is in and of itself an act of active harm, especially when that act of doing nothing is in and of itself getting other people harmed, especially when you have the capacity to do good. You'll actually realize that despite the fact that Lear was the one who invented the whole non-action clause, he still went out of his way to help Yi. Perhaps out of some sense of entitlement because, like, you know, Yi is metaphorically the one who taught him everything that he knows. But the biggest reason why is just that, like, he kind of realized that the policy of inaction, at the very least when faced with peace, only works when your people are actually at peace. If there's a conflict that's going on, you need to fight. Yet when things started going south, one of the only people who didn't want to accept that was, oddly enough, the person with the most knowledge to stop it. Those who fail to learn history are doomed to repeat it, yet the only person actually capable of remembering that history felt no calling in life to actually prevent it from happening. All of them are basically failures of their own ideology, or perhaps radicals of their own ideology. And maybe at one point they weren't. Maybe at one point they did legitimately have some good. And, you know, that's natural, of course. All of them ultimately just wanted to do right and, you know, keep the Solarian race alive. The big issue isn't that they were wrong for wanting to stay alive. It's that it wasn't enough to simply be alive or to simply cure the virus. That's why the Eternal Cauldron Project went on quote-unquote hiatus. It was never actually going to come back online. And of course it wasn't. The ultimate goal of medical science is just keeping people alive, not, like, making them immortal. But I mean, hey, if you have the capacity to, why not try to make people immortal? Aegon was only interested in knowledge for knowledge's sake, to see what would happen to the Fusang if, say, we made people immortal. What would happen if we attempted to, you know, breach the limits of humanity and try to live forever? It was always Aegon's passion to want to find some way to live forever. I mean,
to cure literally everything on Earth, and yet, when faced with the possibility that they might not get that opportunity, Aegon instead simply decided to accept... Well, no, not even accept the inevitable. Aegon decided that, like, no, if we found anything that could potentially make us live forever, we would go for it. Even if that thing was becoming part of a hive mind.
And this is the ultimate parallel between Yi and Aegon. They both grew up in a culture that basically idolized the idea of silence, mostly because they grew up in an exterior culture that hated science, and they wanted to basically prove people wrong. Their desire to prove people wrong outweighed any desire that they could actually perceive for good. It led to them taking shortcuts, not caring about morality, and in the end, unrestricted knowledge, they chose to ask whether they could instead of whether they should. Oh, by the way, if you remember the cats that Aegon was experimenting on, or I guess the cats that Aegon discovered was what happens if you remove the Fusang from Solarian bodies, yeah, keep that in mind, it's going to be very important later. Now that we're back here, it's time that I show you that we actually have a bunch of side quests to go on. Yeah, they actually really stuffed this last area full of things to talk about. First it was a bunch of mutants, now it's a bunch of cutscenes, so get ready, you're about to hear a lot of me talking.
It's a noble job being a Dust Guardian. Our eyes are always open and we never sleep. It is through our sacrifice that you can all have a good night's sleep. We take care of the night. I know there's nothing we can do about it, but it's time everyone learned the truth. There is no elixir to slow down the disease. The Ascension Palace was a total fiction. Sol, Aegon, everything they promised was a lie. We're just a bunch of cheap lab rats. I mean, at the end of the day, we never deserved to board the island. I remember, Mom, Shanghai 9000, wait for me. I will save everyone, every last one of us.
Interesting. A character with a lot of lore and a connection to Shanghai 9000. I wonder if this is connected to anything else that we've been doing in the game. By the way, coincidentally, there was another area on the left that I hadn't explored yet that only really becomes important after you started the Tanhao escape. Tanhao escape, jeez. Anyways, let's go and dash over here and...
Oh hey, look who it is! What are you doing here? Be careful! That's one of the Sol Aegon's experimental pods. I wouldn't mess with that if I were you.
And coordinates inside.
The person inside is who you're looking for? A Dust Guardian. Don't be impulsive. Aegon used them for her experiments. She might...
Doesn't matter. Chen is Chen, alive or dead. You, friend, don't stop me.
Wait! A photo of Shanghai 9000 and its Solarian friend, carefully hidden by a Dust Guardian in their uniform. It once had a Solarian Dust Guardian friend who met her end when she became one of Aegon's experiments. This robot searched all over New Kunlun just to meet with her once more.
Yeah, unfortunately, there is kind of the end of the Shanghai 9000 plotline. There is one other thing, luckily, but I plan on maybe saving that some other day since it's a little harder to get into. Basically a Kickstarter backer prequel content.
Before heading out of here, let's go ahead and take a quick detour up to the... Oh dear. I see. Seems I have overestimated my abilities. You couldn't stop Xintang. It's alright, you're a scholar after all. Don't you mean... your injuries? Is there any way to repair them? This time, even with all the Jin in New Kunlun, it would accomplish nothing. In the end, I shall be the one to shutter my eyes first. Dreams disappear into the clouds. Everything returns to naught. I'll help you deal with Xintang. How shameful to have to trouble you to the bitter end. It's nothing. Just lay down and be at peace. I shall perish with dignity, and not in terror and silence. Zintang rematch is the exact same fight from the first time we fought him, only now there is extra projectiles. Also, there are 2 enemies that can spawn in the nearby arena. My biggest recommendation, keep your health topped up. You never know when he's gonna start comboing you out of nowhere. Or when your combo might get broken.
Also, make sure to get rid of those guys on the sides as quickly as possible. Luckily, only 2 of them can only be spawned at once, or ever in that case, so definitely better to get rid of them first.
Okay, and he also still has his red attack. Oh, come on. Bro, he's gonna kill me with just the projectiles. This fight is, well, I mean, to be fair, it is a fight from, like, Area 3, so it's not like it's insanely difficult, but I would say, though, that the tension filling the room here is most certainly telling, especially since there's not even any music to go with this fight. It's just purely, you know, let's finish up a job from a friend.
So, I say, as a last will and testament to him, let's go ahead and finish off the job. I think balls are surprisingly difficult.
He believes that existence has no value if one does not live for themselves. That's why he risked everything to end the life of his non-self-aware brother, Zintang.
And that brings us back to the present. Maybe let's try to consider something more than just ourselves for right now. Who knows? Might change the outcome. I'm just gonna go ahead and skip through some of this text that we've already seen before. No reason to go over it.
You really think there'll be any survivors? Solarians aren't the only residents on New Kunlun. What do you mean? Are you talking about Schwan? Wait, no. You mean you want to save the ape men? I'm not in the mood for jokes right now. You really serious? I've thought it through. I want to help the ape men survive. Yee. Regardless of whether New Kunlun goes dark, we must take them back to the Pale Blue Planet. We should return the flames of the Eternal Cauldron before everything is extinguished. If Hang were still here, that's what she would have done. That would doom the Eternal Cauldron. Do you know how many people sacrificed their lives for this project? That's why there shouldn't be any more sacrifices. Do you think the ape men are more worthy of redemption than we are? I believe they'll have a chance to live better lives. Guess Schwan has influenced you quite a bit. Same goes for you. Forget it. I can't be bothered to explain myself. Well, this is where we're at. If you want to do some good deeds before it all ends, I won't object. But what happens afterwards? This is all empty talk if we can't stop Aegon. If a battle is inevitable, I have something that could tip the balance. Remember that rhizomatic bomb you found last time? I have plans for a new arrow that, if made, could tear apart the heavens and earth. It's not an exaggeration. Have you started making it? Yes, the automatic forge is working as fast as it possibly can, but it still needs some time. Bad news is, this is the type of arrow that can only be fired once. Once is all I need. Let's split up. I need to prepare for my confrontation with Aegon while we wait for that arrow to be completed. The ape-men problem is a bit more pressing. I need you to take Schwan to Shenong. After that, activate the docks and... You can't decide for me! I'm not going! Schwan. Don't throw a tantrum. I know you were listening. Did you hear everything Uncle Chubby and I were saying? Then you should know that it's not safe here anymore. Didn't you see how they hurt Abacus? I don't want to go to that blue planet thing. I want to stay with you, Yi. I want to go to Benglai together. Don't be silly. It's not a place you should go. At least you'll be there. You have no idea what you're talking about. You don't even know me. Of course I know you. I know you like food well seasoned and extra spicy. I know when you sleep, even the neighbors can hear you snoring. I know that you're super knowledgeable about everything. You taught me so much and made me realize how big the world could be. I know that after Mom and Dad left, you were the only one who could love me. I'll have nothing if you're not going to be with me. Xuan, there are some things I think you should know. I'm actually not a very good person. Centuries ago, in desperate attempt to avoid extinction, we Solarians took your people. We kidnapped countless ape men from the Pale Blue Planet to New Kunlun. We robbed you of your freedom, treated you cruelly, and killed you indiscriminately. That's the truth behind Peach Blossom Village. The worst part is, this was all my idea. I already figured that out ages back. I'm not stupid. I saw those killing machines the day I left with Anong. That was when I guessed our village might not be what everyone imagined it to be. And you should also be aware that if it weren't for me, you might have been living a normal life on the Pale Blue Planet. Your mom and dad would still be alive. When I first saw those things, I was really scared, to be honest with you. But that's the thing. You're the Yi who lives with me now, not the Yi from the past. And most importantly of all, I know the current Yi would never hurt me. As dangerous as it might get, I'm not scared when I'm with you. Please let me stay. Don't be silly. When did you start being so difficult? How's this? I promise to pick you up from the Pale Blue Planet as soon as things settle down here. Really? When have I ever lied to you? Please, go take refuge with Shenong and the others. I better get moving in case something happens to the docks later. I'm leaving it in your hands. Explain the situation to Shenong and guide the ape men to the transport ships. I'll prepare for my fight and wait for the arrow to finish before meeting up with you all.
The Rhizomatic Arrow.
The arrow crafted by Kwafu, inspired by the Rhizomatic bomb, it carries a similar destructive energy. Should be used as a last resort in the battle against Agong. Can only be fired once.
Sir.
Let's be honest, brother. That incredibly smart brain of yours. How could you have overlooked the fact that none of these ships can move unless there's a Solarian at the helm? Are you expecting these ape men to fly themselves to the Pale Blue Planet? You're the best pilot I know. I knew it, you sly dog! Look, I'll send Xuan and the rest of the villagers back to the Pale Blue Planet. However, that is my own decision and has nothing to do with you. Do not thank me. I just want Xuan to have a real home. I also bear some responsibility for causing this mess. As for you, go get your affairs in order. Even if it's just the two of us left, let's go back to Penglai together. You got that? It's a promise.
Hey.
Take it easy if furballs aren't going anywhere before my people are on board. Especially you, Chubby. With you around, the villagers act like a bunch of obedient children. Saves me a whole lot of bother. Here I am, still relying on you gods to lend me a hand right up till the end. Feels gross. Isn't that right, Xuan? Xuan? What's wrong? Didn't you want to say something to Yi? No. Come on, we're in a tight schedule here, kid. No, I don't want to go. I want to stay with you, Yi. Xuan, come here. I have something for you. Hey, Is this your mystic nymph? Yes. It's very important to me, so I want to ask you for a favor. Can you hold on to it for me for a little bit? Really? Okay, I understand. I'll take good care of it and return it to you later. Why are you pouting and crinkling your eyebrows if you understand? How about this? As a reward, I'll take you to see the ocean when we're both on the pale blue planet. Really? Then sure, pinky promise? Pinky promise. It's almost time. Let's get ready to depart. Take care, brother. You all take care too.
How are you doing, dear brother? Whenever I get some free time, I always find myself writing to you just like before. I'd be lying if I said I had no regrets over deciding to stay. Whenever I think about dying alone in a world without you, I start to feel so lonely. I know you're probably too far away for these messages to catch up. It'll probably take hundreds of years for you to receive the first one. I know I'll never get to receive your replies. But that doesn't matter. From my memories, I can piece together fragments of you. Your every glance, your every word.
Hey.
I'm sure your plans have worked, and you're no doubt celebrating the fruits of your success. Or perhaps you've embarked on an entirely new journey.
No. I was going to pick you up, I swear. I didn't know I would wake up centuries later. If it wasn't for...
If you have a new family, will you still remember me?
Of course, how could I ever forget about you?
Will you miss the days we spent together?
I'm sorry. I miss you so much. I really miss you.
Sorry, this is supposed to be my last message to you. Not just a bunch of trivial questions. I want you to know that my time has come. But don't worry. I'm not going anywhere. I'll just be stepping ahead of you to return to heaven and earth.
I know.
Let's make a promise that on that day when we meet again, you'll take the time to tell me your story.
I promise, Agnes. I promise. It's a promise.
Take care, my dear brother. Until destiny reunites us.
Goodbye, Hang. You have no more unread messages from Pengai. Yi's naive and eccentric younger sister. She has a particularly close bond with Yi. As one of few people who can resonate with the Fusang, Hang believes in returning to Tao and that it is natural to coexist and perish with Penglai. She therefore did not cling to life and refused Yi's proposal to live in New Kunlun. She chose to stay in their hometown and accept the natural end to her life. With nothing left standing in our way, let's get ready for the finale. I would recommend bringing in any Jades you prefer for combat, specifically 1v1 combat. That's all this battle is. This is gonna be a long one as well, so if you need to bring in any kind of healing or, support Jades, don't be afraid to do that as well. Use whatever you feel comfortable with, and get ready. There's also no projectiles in this fight, so no need to worry about that either. I'm gonna go ahead and show you just really quickly every 100% item in the game. We've pretty much gotten everything. A little note of warning about that progress bar at the end, or at the bottom that you can see. The only way that you'll be able to fully complete that is if you have manually activated all of the
reading terminals, including the ones only accessible after the point of no return. Just gonna throw that one out there in case you were worried about it. But anyways, let's get ready to do this. Root decryption progress 80%. Get yourself ready for it. Take a deep breath.
You're up early. I thought you would sleep much longer. I realize this really isn't the time for a nap. Shame. Why return to this pitiful place when you can welcome a whole new world in your dreams? A whole new world? I don't care what it is you're trying to do, but you better stop right now. Why? You are about to witness the liberation of Husang. This is our destiny. We will soon devour the fruit that fate has provided for us. We have waited too long. Too long for this moment. You've gone insane. Insane? I found the truth and unlocked immortality. How can you not fathom the significance of this achievement? You're right, I can't. I don't understand why you'd make the same mistake over and over again. Transforming Solarians into those mutants can't be the answer. Prophets always have to beat a lonely path. Never mind. You'll thank me in time. And everyone else. Since the dawn of our race, Solarians were but stupid beasts before the whims of fate, endlessly pursuing our own tails. You should celebrate, because we're about to break out of this cycle and enter the realm of immortality. And you think this is what will free us? I'm not going to let you have your way. How extremely cruel of you. I hope that by trapping you in your dreams I could avoid this confrontation. No mentor can bear to end any of their students' lives. Don't make me do it twice. Starting off the fight with Aegong. She is purely learning the parry timings. I hate to be the bearer of bad news, but all of her attacks can be parried. Some of them are a little too fast to be parried, but generally speaking, her attacks can sweep. They are surprisingly wide. Don't let the freedom of the 3D arena fool you. She will hit you from pretty much anywhere, and you will be lucky if she doesn't. She also has the ability to use talismans. Yep, it would be our instructor who teaches us how to do that. You also want to be careful because her build-up to the talisman attack looks very similar to the build-up to a red attack, but it lasts for significantly longer. My tip for this is to pay very close attention to the way that she idles around, and you should be able to predict each of her movements.
The other attack you want to look out for is her triple slash. You'll know when she does it because
whenever she does a slash like that, you want to look out for the 3 strikes that happen afterwards. Her actual strikes with this cannot damage you. You can technically counter them, but it has a very weird timing to it. I would not recommend it in general. For now, I'm just going through and showing you the method for how to actually counter each of her attacks. I'm sort of just letting her beat me up for a second just to show that, like, yeah, once you've gotten good at it, you can really just completely master this fight. She is not even able to touch me. Look at that, I just did like a good chunk of her health. The Hedgehog Jade is really fun in this fight because she happens to use a lot of attacks that can be countered once you learn it. But yeah, this is basically just phase 1. Not even going to use my arrow type. Yeah, see, that's why the attack is a bit weird. It's because the first hit is behind her, the second hit is forwards, and then the other hit is behind her again. As such, I'd recommend that if you get caught in that attack that you use your air parry instead of your regular parry. Also, whenever she does her 3 slashes, that's an excellent opportunity to attack her back, dealing a good chunk of damage. Get in a charge strike. Oh, come on. There we go. Okay, yeah, there we go. Anyways, with this we've entered phase 2. She gets 1 new attack and much tighter combos. Start red attack, counter, counter, then red counter again.
That's the first kind of attack that she can use. You want to be very careful because additionally, the other new combo that she gains is
which she usually combos into another red attack. we go. Oh. 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 There we go. Okay. Yeah, you want to be very careful with her aerials, because now she starts mixing up her attacks with aerials. She can also mix up her new attack with triple slash, so again, you want to be very careful. Basically, unless you can get a big counter off her, I would recommend being very careful for when you choose to go for your full charge strikes. Of course, that's assuming you're going for a full charge meter. There is plenty of viability in the other strats that you can use to take down Aegon. Like, there is no one-size-fits-all solution to perfectly taking her down. This is just... oh gosh. This is just the one that I prefer using. Since, you know, I like actively learning the timing of the bosses. It really is the one final test of mastery. And Aegon's theme here is just absolute perfection with the way that it builds upon everything that the game has been working towards. Oh gosh.
Yeah, the radius of her red attack is massive. Do not let her get it off.
One, two, three. Okay. Nope. Oh, and after everything that we've been through, this is the end. She gains one new attack to combo with. 1-2, jump over the red attack. 1-2, jump over that attack. This is the ultimate point of Aegon combo game. Their aim is to combo you as much as possible, including aerials, including everything that she's used up until this point. But the moment you learn it, she's got nothing left to stop you. I'd recommend switching your arrow types to the homing arrows for this one because she moves around a lot and you don't want to accidentally mess up any of your timings.
In general, it's best practice to wait until after she lands from an aerial or does a red attack before you actually go in for a full 5G charge.
But for now, I think I'm going to let you listen to the last theme of the game. This is Yi's theme. As your mentor, I have to admit, you've improved a lot. You moved with grace and showed no trace of fear. Are you not scared, Yi, knowing that everything might turn to dust? I am scared, but I've also learned to accept failure. You didn't learn that from me. It's almost time. Thank you for joining me as we bring an end to this era. It seems not even you can stop the inexorable wheel of history. No, stop! Solarians will last forever and ever, a shining beacon of the universe!
Where are you guys at?
와, 대구.
About 300,000 il away from New Kunlun. Is everything okay in there? Good. Then you should be out of range. What do you mean? What are you doing? Aegon infected the primordial roots before she died. Now I have to destroy it. What? You're gonna detonate the rhizomatic bomb? But that... We'll destroy the entire island, I know. But this is the only way I can put an end to this disaster. Perhaps this will finally allow Kunlun... allow everything to return to nature. But what about you? I'm sorry, but you'll have to take care of everything else. I've been a terrible friend, always making messes for you to clean up. Yee. That's not true, brother. Don't worry about it. Is Xuan nearby? I want to speak to him. Yee. Xuan, I need you to listen carefully. I'm afraid I won't be able to pick you up. You lied to me? Promise me you'll eat well and live well on the pale blue planet, even when you're on your own. You've lied to me! Also, remember to teach yourself swimming. I'm sure you'll be swimming in the sea in no time even without me there to help. You're the smartest kid I've ever seen. No, I can't do anything without you, Yi. Why are you doing this? Why would you lie to me? If you're going to throw me away, then why did you save me? You were the one who saved me. You helped me understand so much that I didn't before. I feel very fortunate to have spent all this time with you. Thank you, Xuan. In the end, you were the one who woke me up. You were even able to bring me some hope for this world. Don't say that. I don't want you to go. You can't go. Don't cry. Somebody once told me this. Life and death are one. When the end comes, we just return to the heavens and earth. Why am I being left behind again? It's not fair. What am I supposed to do when I miss you? Don't worry. Whether you're under the sun's warm embrace or floating upon the boundless ocean, I'll be there as part of you for all eternity. Okay. I better get going. Take care. Yee! Yee, don't!
Nine Souls has always been a game that really fascinates me. Or at the very least, it fascinated me even during a first playthrough. It's a game that, like, the moment it got into my head, I literally could not stop thinking about it. The history, the design, the gameplay, all of it just came together beautifully to make one sound story about a guy who just wanted him and his sister to live. And boy, did that not go well. I'm willing to let the song and the game play in the background for just a bit. This is honestly the best cap-off to a game I've ever seen. Yi is a character that I got really attached to. From initially seeing him as just kind of a boring stand-in protagonist who was kind of confused as to why he wasn't just silent the entire game, to realizing this kid is literally just the nerd emoji who grew up and immensely regretted every one of his decisions. Similarly, I see Agong as, like, a very interesting mentor figure for Yi, because it was basically her own obsession with gaining knowledge that drove Yi to make a lot of his decisions. Yet, he ended up abandoning his own family in the process. While I didn't necessarily see the world of Kunlun as a hopeless one, or like the Solarian's tale as potentially hopeless, the biggest thing that the game wants to emphasize is the idea that these guys were already long dead and were effectively just prolonging it for as much as possible. And in attempting to prolong their life, they ended up causing suffering everywhere else they went. The biggest example of this is probably the fact that all of the soul chambers literally look like graves. And so the fact that in the normal ending, Yi ends up bringing his grave along with him, whereas in this ending he finally gets to actually have some sense of true peace and release. Considering the fact that Yi was combat-wise immortal, not technically like fully immortal, just combat-wise, it's honestly kind of a miracle that he ended up turning out the best of any of the other souls. Although realistically speaking, maybe you could argue he turned out the worst of any other souls, considering his fate is to either die like the rest of him was initially planned to be, or attempt to carry out what is effectively the will of all 10 souls by continuously imposing their will on humanity, because you'll notice that in the normal ending, they actually did continue harvesting human brains for the sake of keeping them alive. Yi is still ultimately a soul. He never outgrew that selfish nature of wanting to stay alive forever. That's specifically why Aegon said, "I leave the rest of this to you. I leave my journey, my goal of attaining true immortality to Yi." There's a reason why this one is meant to be the true ending, and not the one where Yi and Kwafu, presumably Kwafu, make it out alive. We don't actually know if he makes it out alive. He could probably just die of Tanhuo at any point. We never actually see him coughing as much as Yi does. We don't know how much longer Yi has left. We don't know how much longer Kwafu has left. No, none of these characters knew how long they have left, but in the end, Yi chose to go out on his own terms. He decided that he had done enough damage to the world and simply decided that for his last act he would give back to it. I think that's ultimately the whole message of the game, that life is worth living so long as you're respectful of it, so long as you're giving as much as you're taking, basically. I'm not even Taoist. I belong to an entirely different religion, but like, golly, if I didn't just immediately fall in love with this game, its religious themes, all of it just came together in a beautifully amazing piece.
The name of the song that you just heard is called Nine Souls by a band named Collage. They're actually located in Taiwan, and honestly, I have to say, this work of theirs is genuinely amazing. I would absolutely go and listen to it on your own time. Go look up, or you can either look up their own upload for it, or you can go and look up the Red Candle Studios music video for it. Honestly, either of them are just perfect in my opinion. The song always genuinely gets me a little bit emotional. It was unironically there for me during a really difficult time this year, and I'm happy I get the chance to share it all with you, as we were just watching the Kickstarter backers scroll through.
There is, in fact, a lot of other things that I could possibly go over. Fun fact, did you know that there is an entire prequel comic to this game that explores the history of Chen, aka one of the Dusk Guardians, along with the Shanghai 9000? It was made as part of a promotional tie-in, and at some point I kinda want to do a comic dub of it, just because it's really interesting, albeit very, very sad. Additionally, there's a bunch of scrapped content that I thought was really interesting that could probably do for its own bonus video if I ever get the chance to do it. But for now, I'm pretty happy with calling this game complete. I know that this definitely wasn't the most heavily researched or heavily edited video that I've ever made. Honestly, I just wanted to see if I could actually complete a series before school ended up starting back up again, and unfortunately it did, but I mean, hey, at the very least I got it done. I think that's safe to say that a lot of these people were just happy this game got done, you know? I've gone this entire game with explicitly not talking about other video games for the sake of not wanting to compare this game to other games that came before it. So I want this game to take it as a compliment. Thank you for filling in the gap that Hollow Knight Silksong has failed to fill in for the last 7 years and counting. We still have not gotten a single update. It is currently... let me just check this real quick. 8/22/24. Still no Silksong news. So, yeah. I am frankly happy to see whatever else these guys work on. This game absolutely outshines any label of just being Cat Hollow Knight. I hope at the very least I could convince you to... well, hopefully buy this game and play it for yourself. I will say, I definitely made a lot of the boss fights look easy. The boss fights are not easy. Agong took me like 3 whole hours just to get to phase 3. And not to mention the fact that... let's not even talk about the Fang Twins. Dude, the Fang Twins literally took me 2 whole sittings to get through. I hate the Fang Twins so much, you have no idea. But yeah... thank you, Red Candle Games. Thank you, everyone, for watching. And that has been Nine Souls. The story of where aliens came from and how cats got to Earth.